Hi, friends. Welcome to For Good Forever, a podcast from La Crosse Area Community Foundation. My name's Chad Dull, and I'm proud to serve as the CEO of La Crosse Area Community Foundation. I'm here today with a colleague I'd like you to meet as well.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lauren Juneau. I'm the Impact Director here at the Community Foundation. We're starting this podcast as a mini-series. We're going to do 5 episodes where we'll bring guests on, and our goal is really to share stories and ideas of people who care about the La Crosse area, helping listeners to understand how we all play a role in building a stronger, more connected, and sustainable community. The mission really is that we're investing in communities for good forever.
So what's a community foundation? Well, a community foundation is simply a place-based way to invest in our communities to help them thrive and connect. We wake up every day at La Crosse Area Community Foundation trying to find ways to take the amazing things that people want to help happen in our community and make them happen. We have donors with passion and purpose that want to see a thriving and connected La Crosse area, and we get the privilege of helping them find ways to achieve their goals and dreams every day. We truly are investing in communities for good, forever.
So now we'll dive into the meat of our podcast and welcome our first guests. Our first episode is Meet the Heart Behind the Foundation. I'm so excited about our 2 guests that we have with us today. And I get to introduce the first, Hannah Amann, who is owner of Hey There Hannah LLC and is one of the most creative and engaged humans that I have come to know in the community. Welcome, Hannah.
Thanks, Lauren.
Do you want to tell us just a little bit about what you do in the community? And we'll get a little bit into your connection to LACF in a minute.
So Hey There Hannah was really born out of people saying, Hannah, can you help me with this? And me being like, I don't know, let's figure it out. And so for some reason or somehow that became a business. And so I have been working with different individuals, small businesses, nonprofits for different marketing or event planning type creative thinking, working to help streamline processes for small businesses, knowing working smarter, not harder is helpful. And in small business land, there's a lot of needing to have as much time as possible back in our lives. And so have really been able to work with a variety of folks in town, from the wedding tree to hunting, gather, grazing, art pop on market. Recently have been working on a few projects with New Horizons and Habitat for Humanity. And so just a really cup-filling experience.
Yeah, it's so cool to see your creativity just glow through the way that your business model even is put together and your just willingness to help people.
Yeah, well, Lauren, I feel like we have an all-star cast today. I get to introduce our second guest. Nick Padesky is with us today. Nick's a deeply involved community member and a partner to the foundation. But Nick, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, my name is Nick. I'm born and raised here in La Crosse. One of the things that I learned in childhood was just giving back to the community. This might be jumping ahead, but my graduation gift from my parents was an endowment at the Community Foundation, and was really overjoyed to receive that and have that lasting connection within La Crosse.
No, that's fantastic, and we're definitely going to talk more about that as time goes on. Clearly, we're all just jumping right in today, but we want to warm up a little bit with what we hope will become our signature segment, Either Or. So we're going to give you back and forth just a choice off the top of your head, which you prefer, and I think, Lauren, you can kick us off.
Yeah, Hannah, we're going to start with you. Fall or summer?
Fall.
Good answer.
100%.
I mean, I concur. Nick, what about you, though?
Fall
too?
Yeah,
okay.
Easy.
Let's start with you this time. Hike in the bluffs or a stroll along the river?
In the fall, bluffs, summer, river.
Sweet or salty?
Definitely more salty, but if it's something sweet, I just want one bite. I'm good.
Not too much.
Gotta be dark chocolate.
It's always got to be dark
We're on the
chocolate.
same wavelength.
Are you dog or cat person?
I'm a dog person.
Coffee hour or happy hour?
Coffee hour.
Yes.
Yes.
Because it can be
Why
any
not
hour.
both? Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay, thanks for playing with us. Appreciate you both. I'd like to share a little bit more, have you share a little bit more about how you're each connected to La Crosse Area Community Foundation. So, Nick, let's start with you. Talk to us a little bit about and you mentioned earlier your endowment, graduation gift. Talk to us about how that happened and kind of your connection to the foundation now.
Yeah, I was aware of the Community Foundation prior to that, but obviously wasn't involved. I was 18. But my mom had served on the board at that time were friends with Sheila Garrity, who was the executive director at the time, and she really helped me set up the fund. And when I was looking through the options of like what you can do with a donor advised or like with an endowment, either some sort of donor advised fund or just putting that money into one of the other funds at the foundation. It was definitely timely, but I recently graduated and recently had the scholarship ceremony at Central High School, and was noticing that it was a lot of the same students getting the scholarships over and over, and there wasn't a lot of spread of who was receiving them, and wanted to do something about that. And the conclusion we came to, Sheila and I did, is that we would do a donor advised scholarship at Central High School, and the prerequisites have kind of changed a little bit throughout the years. I think that GPA is not always a very good marker of like deservedness of a scholarship. And that was one of the big things that I noticed, was that it was students who had a 3.8 or above or a 4.0 and just had the highest GPA. And I looked around the room and saw students who maybe didn't have that high of a GPA, still a very good GPA, but were working a part-time job. We're doing a sport. We're taking several AP classes. We're taking a class at UWL or at Viterbo or at TC, and expanding themselves more in my eyes, and really pushing themselves. And maybe their grade suffered because of that, but they were trying. They were trying something new. They were pushing themselves. And so I wanted to focus on giving a scholarship to students who were expanding themselves and really saying yes to everything.
So cool. Really encouraging students to do the full experience.
Yeah.
And that it's not going to be at the expense of them not being able to expense their college education.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate the kind of I'm a long-time educator. Before I did this, that idea that having a great GPA requires time to have a great GPA.
Yes.
So obviously you're doing a lot of good for students with your scholarship. What has it done for you? I mean, what have you learned from that process?
It has helped me stay connected to Central. I also think in chatting with other folks at the Community Foundation, it has opened the eyes on possibilities of funds. My dad graduated from Central. My sister and I graduated from Central. So it's been that connection that has stayed, which I've definitely appreciated. And I think that it's also been a good tie for what philanthropy can mean to younger people. Absolutely. And like scholarships are not often thought of as coming from a community foundation, from that sort of philanthropic service. And so it's just been a nice way to connect the community of La Crosse, in my mind and my heart, to that public education and continuing public education.
Love it. Yeah, no, I love the idea of getting engaged early on. So maybe we shift over to you, Hannah, and talk about how did you find your connection and involvement with LACF?
Before I jump into that, also, Nick, shout out to your parents. Like, what a cool graduation gift.
Yes.
Like, if you're able to do that.
To those who know my parents, I would say in particular my mom, it is such a Tim and Tara gift.
Yes.
Like, it is so emblematic of them.
Seems on brand.
So cool.
Yes. Yeah.
So cool. So I think similar to my work with like Hey There Hannah, truly like it started with relationships of who I knew. Shout out to Megan. We have been friends for long before she started at the Community Foundation, but I think similar to a lot of younger adults, were like, I know you do stuff, I know it's cool, but I don't know like that much of what it is. And so she, and in turn meeting all of your team, really have expanded my horizons on what that looks like. And how you all are able to give back. And so in connection with her and getting to know Lauren more and things like that, I have been able to serve on the Impact Committee, which has been awesome. That has really opened my eyes to so many more projects that are happening in this community than I think people are aware of. The 1,300 nonprofits, give or take, in this region is remarkable, and it really just reminds me how much of a gift it is to live here, to have people who care and want to give back, and how are we challenging / encouraging folks to give back in ways that maybe they didn't originally think of, like Nick with the scholarship of, okay, how are we spreading this to more than just students with a perfect GPA as part of their class. And so I have come in and kind of had that perspective and warned Lauren of that before joining the committee. I was like, hey, like, I'm not here to ruffle feathers, but also, like, I might have some opinions that differ from other people. And she goes, that's why you're here. Yeah. Like, that's what we want. And so have felt really welcome in being able to also hopefully amplify voices at the table that maybe can't be there for some of those impact committee meetings and grant reviews and things like that.
I'm just thinking for our thousands of new listeners who might not be familiar with what the
tens of thousands
committee does. Do you want to say a little bit about what our impact committee work looks like?
Yeah, so impact committee or impact work at the foundation really looks like providing supports to nonprofits so that they can succeed in achieving their missions. And so in large part, that is reflective of our competitive grants process. The Impact Committee probably does the most around our competitive grants. They're the ones who score, review, and then have discussions and make decisions about where the community's philanthropic dollars go. And that's, like $1 million of the 5.4 that we send out every year in all of these different types of ways. But that's a committee that is intended to be representative of our community and to make collective decisions about doing good work or amplifying good work that the whole community can be proud of. So excited to have you in that space, Hannah. And I love the fact that you ask questions and have opinions. That is exactly why we want people to be in those spaces. So thank you for that. So I'm going to move us. I want to ask a couple questions to each of you just about community in general and your involvement. I'm going to start with you, Nick. What does community impact mean to you?
I think that community impact, like on the broad, means that you are improving either the broader community or uplifting forgotten people within the community and bringing the floor to an equal level for everyone. Mm-hmm. So I think the impact committee has shifted over the years, and I think has done a really good job of addressing some of those lower grades in terms of the levelness of the community and trying to uplift that. So community impact is work around trying to give people the tools that other folks have already or, providing common good.
Love that. We just had that conversation this morning with our board about it's not a thriving and connected community if segments are left out.
Yes.
It has to be inclusive. It has to bring folks along. So I love that. Sorry, you got me there, Nick. So, Hannah, let's put you on the spot a little bit. I mean, what do you think you've learned about the community from being part of philanthropy?
Like I said before, I think there are so many projects happening in this community, and what has been an awesome tool for me as someone who's like, okay, well, I can't discuss everything we talked about in our impact meeting and how we voted, but it allows me to help bridge some of those connections then. If someone's like, oh, I'm looking for this kind of resource in the area, or I'm interested in kind of volunteering with this type of project, it has really expanded my knowledge base of being able to say, well, Aura Trails is doing XYZ, or the library has started these renovations, and in the meantime, they need more personal librarians. Here's how you can help. And so being able to kind of bridge those connections for folks has been really big and really helpful. I think people, even before I was helping out at the Community Foundation, were like, Hannah, you're just kind of everywhere. And my husband would be like, yes, she doesn't sit still, and that's how she likes it. And so I think for me, thinking about kind of that community impact that Nick so eloquently talked about, how are we also helping people feel like they belong? And by making those connections, right, we don't want La Crosse or the greater La Crosse area to be somewhere you just feel like you live. Like, we want you to thrive here. We want you to belong here. We want you to stay here. And so building those relationships is a big piece of doing that.
Do you want to tell me a little bit more? So as you and I have gotten to know each other over the last year, I think of you as sort of a human connector machine. I may have teased Hannah once when I saw her at one of her many things that she does. Do you work everywhere?
You did.
And you do.
I remember that.
Can you talk about a little bit what that looks like for you personally, how you're out there, and maybe what drives you to connect people like that?
I'm getting stumped.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, every time I go off script, I make the guests nervous. It's okay.
I grew up wanting to feel like you fit in, right? I think like everybody feels that way. My graduating class of my high school senior class was 64 people. I still get made fun of from my husband for that, who also went to Central. He's like, what? And so I think I chameleoned a lot to try to be like, okay, well, where can I fit in, or who can I help? And have been really privileged to be able to start Hey There Hannah and bop around and be able to kind of build those different connections, whether that's from working with our seniors at the YMCA, which is the event that Chad was like, are you just everywhere? At the gala this last year. But I think what really just drives me is I have been in those places where I don't feel like I belong, and as an extroverted human, maybe you didn't see that. Maybe it was masked and you were very much like, oh, Hannah's just happy and chipper all the time. Most of the time, yes. But I think especially with like the La Crosse Links program, that has been my bread and butter. I've told folks who've come through it, like, you gave me my dream job to be able to connect you all to a place that you just moved to and hopefully expand your horizons. But yeah, I think it's just, I always joke with folks, right, when you're hiring, like, there's some things that are taught and there's some things that aren't, and you can't teach people to care. And so I think that's something that, like, I think of my grandma, who she just cared very well about people all the time. She still does. And so I think I just have carried that with me, and yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Wonderful.
Thanks for letting me deviate a little bit.
Of course.
My other aspirational career was therapist, so I'm like,
I was going to ask a deep dive question too, Chad,
Please,
but it was, what is a personal librarian?
Oh my
Because that just sounds fun.
So, fun fact, you can volunteer with the La Crosse Public Library to be a personal librarian. I have my two ladies, shout out to Phyllis and Shirley, who live at the Willows, they'll call good old Celine, also shout out Celine, and say, hey, I'm ready for new books, and you get to go to the library, generally to the large print section, and pull like 6 or so books of topics or genres that they might be interested in, and then you get to go deliver them to their door and take their current bag and bring them back to the library.
That's so fun.
Right?
It has been such a joy the past year to do this, and I would definitely encourage anybody to hop on in. We have a lot of folks who maybe aren't as mobile or don't have the transportation opportunities that we do on a regular basis. So yeah.
That's so fun. What a blast.
So, not to always make you go first, Nate, but no, you'd mentioned earlier the idea of you got involved thanks to your parents in philanthropy really young. Do you have thoughts on how to get more folks involved earlier on in their lives?
I think so much of it is the financial opportunity, and I don't know a great way to just give everyone that opportunity, but I think that is important, deeply important for those who have the opportunity to do so, to get involved with the La Crosse Community Foundation or foundations like it throughout the country. And I think it's incumbent upon both parents of those kids that have the fortune of that opportunity, the privilege of that opportunity. And it's also incumbent upon the community foundations to demonstrate that work throughout the community and try to reach out to, the folks who have the means to do that. And, Hannah said you can't teach someone to care, but you can kind of show them how to care and what to care about. And I think the La Crosse Community Foundation does a great job of showing people how to care. And so it's a partnership between the Community Foundation and parents. But I do think that La Crosse Connections does a great job of philanthropy is often thought of as an old person's game. And it's often, I think, it's demonstrated most commonly in big capital projects where someone's name is on a building. And there are so many other impactful ways that fortune can help less fortunate. And that can be a young couple that doesn't want to have kids, and they got a bonus at work and want to put $10,000 towards something good in the community. And that can be really impactful and really life-changing. And I think the Impact Committee, the Community Foundation, has done a great job of showing that smaller endowments, smaller contributions, relative. Obviously, $10,000 is not nothing, especially to most Americans. But that level of money can be really impactful for someone. So I think it's expanding the education to younger folks that you do not need to contribute $1 million to make a difference.
Absolutely. Well, and even I think, to the tune of $5,000 and $10,000, right? We've got donors who give annually and send us $20. And I think when you work with the nonprofit sector, you come to know that every dollar makes a difference, because genuinely, what you're paying for is people most of the time, and it takes people to do the work. So, yeah, and I think, jump into you, Hannah, around a similar question. I think you've done a really excellent job of kind of coming at it from a position of maybe you didn't have money to invest and endow, and you've sort of found your own ways to be engaged in philanthropy. I'm wondering what excites you about the future of philanthropy in the area.
When I think too, going off of what Nick had shared, it doesn't always have to be your dollar. It can be your time, which some people have, some people don't. And so kind of how are you spending the time you do have? Could it look like volunteering to be on a committee at the Community Foundation? Grant review is no joke, but it is very worth it, I think, to see those projects then come to life, and know you played a small part in that, even if you weren't the one funding it. And so, yeah, I think those are the things that excite me. I think there's a lot of younger people in the area who are raising their voices for causes that they care about and want to make a difference in the area in those different ways and with those around those different topics. And so young people, that's a message for you, like find a way to get involved, even if you don't have the funds to do that, like volunteering and things like all of those things in those ways. And the Community Foundation is a great way to connect you to nonprofits who might be looking for volunteer interns or just weekend volunteers for different things. And so I think that's what excites me, is to see kind of the next generation, no qualms to the current generation or the previous ones, right? But seeing the shifts of, okay, these are things we really care about in this area. And those are going to ebb and flow all of the time based on who lives here in the population. And so I think I'm just hopeful with the next generation, as I've seen them speak up more, working in higher ed before starting my business, right? It has been awesome to see what some of those students have already gone on to do in ways they've been making an impact. And so I think being able to encourage them in the best way possible, I very much believe in empowering people's stories, and that can look different per person and per community and per group. And so being able to empower the stories that are happening in this community is really important to me. And that's what drives a lot of the work that I do. And so finding others who also want to do that, I think, is really exciting.
Yeah, I appreciate your call out to volunteering, right? We often say in the nonprofit sector that there's a number of things you can give to a nonprofit that are valuable, including your time, your talent, and your treasure. And all of those things are equally as valuable, because it takes all of them to get the work done. So thanks, Hannah. And thanks, Nick, for being here, both of you. We appreciate you being willing to show up on our first episode of For Good Forever.
And we called it Meet the Heart Behind the Foundation. We couldn't have found two more perfect people to talk about heart in our community.
Seriously. Two folks doing a lot of good impact work, a lot of good belonging work. We really appreciate you being here and are so excited that you are still rising leaders in our community. And hopefully you'll be here to stay for a long time.
Of course.
Cool.
Yes.
Thank you both.
Thank y'all.
Thanks for listening. We're glad you were able to join us today and hope you enjoyed hearing from Hannah and Nick, two rising generation, leaders in philanthropy and volunteerism in our community. We want you to stay tuned for future episodes. We're going to discuss things like how to give, how to engage in local philanthropy, and more. And we'll continue to have nonprofits and different leaders on the show.
Yeah, what a great first episode, Lauren. Just so excited about our podcast. And if listeners would like to stay connected to LACF, go out on Instagram and find us at La Crosse Area Foundation, and on Facebook at La Crosse Area Community Foundation. We'd love to continue the conversation.